Philadelphia cheesesteaks. The most beautiful thing on the face of the planet. For anybody who's ever had one, you guys will absolutely love it. So, a few nights ago we had some ribeyes, which we trimmed all the fat off of, the hard fats on the outside. We made some bacon. Complaint was it was a little salty, but we moved on. So we have wet aged this steak. What that means is we put a brine cure on it, and we put it in a plastic bag, knocked most of the air off it, and let it sit in the refrigerator for about 2 to 3 days. So, toss your steaks in the freezer for about 2 to 3 hours so that they're kind of firm. Take a sharp knife, and then we're going to slice this as thin as we possibly can. If it chips, that's fine. The thinner, the better. Again, for those of you at home that happen to have a meat slicer, go crazy with that. Throw that on the meat slicer. And you'll notice that I'm not taking any more of the fat off. The fat from the center and along the ridge edge, we want that because that's going to break down. It's going to make our meat extremely juicy. It's going to make the thing flavorful, and it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful thing. Now, remember, I said that I had wet aged this with a brine. You can use a salt rub, whichever. So, that means the meat's already salted. Don't salt this meat. For those of you who at home have some steaks, but you haven't wet aged your steaks or anything like that, just a little bit of, when we make it, just a little bit of salt in the pan, a little bit of pepper in the pan, and that's it. Nothing more. Simple. The original Philly cheesesteak, there are several different accounts of which restaurant did it first, but it's most widely known as a restaurant on Main Street that had, this was a sandwich shop, and the owner had decided that he was going to just make a steak sandwich for himself. Cabbie came in, offered him $5 for it, and then turned around and told him that they should sell those instead. So, that's what they started doing. Beautiful thing. So, we want to get our pan nice and hot. And butter. This is a beautiful thing. What you want to do is you want to leave your butter out for a little while and make sure that it's softened just a tiny bit. Hard butter won't hurt you at all in this process, but it is easier to work with. You want to take about a half a pat. For those of you at home that are like, what does that even mean? About a tablespoon, give or take. And I know that I'm hearing you guys, Tony, that's a lot of butter for steak that's kind of fatty. It's true. It's absolutely true. The butter is not for the steak, though. The butter is actually for the cheese. Can I pop my door open? So that it doesn't stick to the pan when you're cooking it, so that it's easier to flip over. Remember, Philly cheesesteaks traditionally are so greasy that they cut right through the wax paper, right through the brown paper bag, and if it's not sitting on your lap by the time you get to work, you've done it wrong. So, want to take our nice strips, again, the thinner the better, as thin as you can get it. We want to just throw some of this into the pan. Listen for that sizzle. If you don't hear the sizzle, pull it out of the pan. Now, I know that some of you have watched me and you said, Tony, that wasn't smoke hot. Don't smoke hot butter. Unless you pull the butter solids out of it first and you do what we call clarifying it, which I'll show you in another video. Don't. The butter solids will burn in the pan. Not what we want. We don't want the taste of burnt butter with our steak.
Ashlyn Burrows says hi.
Hey, Ash! How are you? And that's Ashlyn Burrows.
Oh, sorry.
So, she wants to get in on some of our Philly cheesesteak goodness. All right, like I said, I had already salted this. So, again, coarse grind, black pepper. Now, I'm not going to shake that on there because that's silly. You only need a little bit. Just a dash. We don't want it to overpower the meat. We don't want it to come through a whole lot. We just want to add a little bit of sharpness to this. Get our meat nice and dry for medium rare. I know that's going to be tough because it's so thin, but it was frozen. So you should be able to just get the outer layers cooking nicely. Now, if you go to Philly and you order a cheesesteak, they will ask you whether you want it with or without. What they're referring to is onions. Traditionally, only semi-half grilled onions. It's not like they don't cook them all the way through, and they don't put them on there raw. They just cook them till they're translucent in, quite a bit of butter. Lots of butter. I like mushrooms on mine, so we've added mushrooms to our mix. And when you're cooking those, don't add salt, don't add pepper. Just let the natural flavors of those vegetables come through. Now, yes, you can use any steak you want. I just happen to have ribeye. Ribeye has a high fat content. It's going to stay tender. It's going to stay moist. Moist. Beautiful word. Enjoy it, live it, love it, learn it. All right. Now, some of you are wondering, what sort of cheese did they use? Well, in Philly, they use a provolone and traditionally cheddar. I prefer provolone. I like Swiss. You want a nice stretchy cheese with a cheese with flavor. Today we're going to stay a little bit more traditional. We've got some sharp cheddar here.
Bailey Holmes has just joined us and asks, what are you making?
We are making Philadelphia cheesesteaks, Bailey.
Sexy.
Beautiful.
And that's that. Oh dear. 90 seconds was a little much.
It's okay. This is why microwaves have those little dinner plates inside. So that if you screw up, it doesn't end up in the microwave. All right, so what we're going to do, you want to throw your harder cheese on first. You want that to start to melt down. Now, I've got here some mozzarella, provolone, Asiago blend. This is going to create our stretchy gooiness that we want so very much of.
Frank Gossett says, very spicy view behind you. And Bailey says, I thought you were a professional.
I am a professional. But this is my home, and I get to cheat. So, the best part about being at home and cheating, I don't have a flat top. So, we'll go ahead and we'll throw the cover on there just to let the cheese steep and melt in the steam. Meanwhile, bread. Recommend a hoagie roll. Traditionally, it is a sourdough hoagie roll. Anybody that tells you it's a Chicago hard roll, they're on crack. Chicago hard rolls come from Chicago. Philly cheesesteaks come from Philly.
Bailey says, that's not the same and you know it.
I don't need to take your sass. It's going to be delicious either way. Promise you. All right. As you can see, our cheese has started to melt up nicely. And what we're going to do here...
Oh, God, it smells good.
Right. What we're going to do is we're going to...
Do you need an extra hand in there?
It should be all right. Just cram that on there. Gooey, wonderful, cheesy, delicious. More gooey. All right. Try not to leave any steak in the pan. It will burn for the next round. Now, traditionally speaking, just take a little bit of this. It's still warm. Still hot. Beautiful thing. We'll sit that there nicely. Now, something that they do in Philly nowadays is they put a little cheese whiz on the top. It gives it a little bit extra body, a little bit more salt to it. And there you have it. That is a Philly cheesesteak with onions, mushrooms. You may have this.
Yep.
This is Rachel.
Hi.
You're gonna try that.
Oh, okay. Jesus.
Jesus had nothing to do with it. The beautiful guys down at the sandwich shop in Philly invented this thing. Whole mouth challenge right here.
Oh, so good.
There you go. Beautiful thing. All right, folks. That's it. Quick, easy. You guys have fun making these. Enjoy. Any questions?
Kevin says, yummy. Bailey says, when are you coming to Texas to cook for me, my boyfriend, and my dog? Also love all of you.
Well, as soon as COVID allows us to leave the city, we'll talk about coming down.
And Sarah says, hang loose. Well,
Hi, Sarah.
she does this. All right. You going to show them round two, or shall we finish up so I can shove this beautiful masterpiece in my mouth?
We're going to eat.
All right. Bye, y'all.